Welcome to Session 3 of Native Lifestyle Balance. In today's video, we will talk about 3 ways to eat less fat and fewer calories. We are Ross Barber and Carol Percy, your Native Lifestyle Balance coaches. For this session, we hope you have a printed copy of the Session 3 in your participant notebook. You also need your completed food diary, where this week you wrote down the food you ate and look up the number of fat grams in each food. How many days were you able to add up your fat grams you ate each day and compare the total of the fat gram goal you received in Session 2?
Let's plot today's weight on our How Am I Doing graph. Today our participant Betty weighed 197 pounds. Betty told us she was excited about her weight loss progress and thinks that she lost 2 pounds more because writing down the food she eats has helped her focus in on what she's eating. So let's plot Betty's weight at 197 pounds. We're going to plot it here. We're going to write today's date down here. And then on this line, we're going to go to 195, 96, 197. Betty weighs 197. So you can see about her excitement that she's actually about 2 pounds below her How Am I Doing 7% weight loss line. Betty thinks this focus is helping her eat smaller portions of the foods she usually eats. If you didn't have success with weight loss this week, keep trying. Think about why you might have kept a stable weight or gained, and try to avoid those behaviors this week. Try not to focus on just one weight, but your weight pattern over several weeks.
So what did you learn this last week? I remember the first time I looked up fried potatoes. I was really surprised that the half a cup contains 14 grams of fat. When I eat fried potato, I usually eat at least 1 cup, and that has 28 grams of fat. Is almost my entire 33 grams of fat I am budget each day.
Wow.
Getting close to your fat gram goal is challenging, but very important to weight loss success.
If you couldn't find some of the foods you ate in your fat gram tracker, look up a food with similar ingredients. If you have access to the internet, you can type in the food in a search engine with the word nutrition, and for most foods, you will find nutrition information. Don't forget to use your food labels. You could also keep a list of the foods you can't find, and next time you go to the hospital or clinic, your local nutritionist should be able to help you figure out the fat content of the foods you can't find.
Remember earlier we said Betty thought she was eating smaller portions because she is keeping her food log. Portion size is important. Today we're going to be using measuring cups and spoon to figure out the portion size. Our eyes can play tricks on estimating the fat gram. Although measuring may seem a bother, it won't take you long to learn a good visual sense of portion size and reduce the need of always measuring your food. Even a small difference in the portion size can mean a big difference in calories and fat grams.
Today we are going to start with some hands-on practice, weighing and measuring food. On page 3, you'll find some basic measurements and abbreviations used on food labels and in recipes. The abbreviation for tablespoon, a capital T or TBSP, this is a tablespoon, and the abbreviation for teaspoon, a small t or TSP, are very similar, so be careful when reading these amounts. You can see that 1 teaspoon is a lot less food than 1 tablespoon of food.
On page 4, there are tips for weighing and measuring food. So let's practice. Here is a bowl of breakfast cereal. How much cereal do you think is in this bowl? Since cereal is a solid food, we will use 1 cup to measure, we'll level off with the knife. So this is 1 cup of cereal. If you guess 1 cup of cereal, you are right. How does the amount of cereal in this bowl compare to the amount you usually eat?
It's about right, I think. Betty wants to drink some orange juice with her cereal, and this week, while she was looking up foods, she noticed the amount of calories in orange juice is similar to the amount of calories in soda. So she wants to try to limit the portion of orange juice to 1 cup. So let's use this clear measuring cup to measure 1 cup of orange juice for Betty. When measuring liquids, you want to get down at eye level and then pour the liquid in to where it says 1 cup. So that's 1 cup of orange juice. And then I'm going to pour that 1 cup into this cup so we can see how much of this cup is orange juice. Since you always have your hand with you, you can measure your hand to estimate the amount of food you are eating. Your fist should be the size of a potato or a piece of fruit. Nowadays, sometimes they're really giant in the stores, so try to pick ones when you're buying them that are about the size of your fist. 2 hands together are about 1 cup of food. Roz, pour that cereal in and see if it's about 1 cup. Yep, so that's 1 cup of food, of cereal. 1 hand is a half of cup. Our palm right here is about 4 ounces of meat. Your spread fingers is a good size for tortillas and fry bread. The tip of your thumb is a teaspoon. And this fat pad below our thumb is a tablespoon.
Even a small amount of extra food can increase the fat and the calorie you eat in a big way. Let's take apart sausage burrito that is sold along the side of the road. How many fat grams are in this burrito? Let's test how accurate we are using our eyes by guessing the portions of the food in this burrito. I don't know where the bread ends here. Okay.
Looks like you're doing good. All right.
Okay. What I see in this burrito is tortilla, potatoes, sausage, and eggs. I think I don't know if you agree with me, Carol, but I think there's about 2 cups of fried potatoes.
Okay, so I'll put fried here. I am going to guess that tortilla is about 8 inches. And you said 2 cups for the fried potatoes?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And probably about a cup of sausage.
Sausage, okay.
And
how about
1 egg.
it doesn't look like there's that much scrambled egg in there, huh?
Uh-huh.
Okay,
1 egg.
1, okay. All right.
The best I can do on here is I'm going to have to measure everything together.
Can you get any of that sausage out? Maybe and put it in this one. Let's see. Should I help you?
Sure. I'll get the potatoes here.
There's a lot of sausage in this, huh?
Mm-hmm.
We can just estimate 1 egg scrambled and then do how much sausage. Look at that. Cool. So far I retrieved a 1/4 cup of sausage. That's good. Why don't you just measure the rest of the potato then, see how much it is. So a 1/4 cup is what we actually got for sausage.
And the rest is, I'm thinking it's about 2 cups of potatoes. Because look, see, it's already getting full here.
Is it all right if while you're putting that into your cup measure, I'm going to just measure the size of the tortilla,
Sure.
how many inches it is?
Go ahead.
It is 8 inches. So we guessed 8 inches, and the actual amount is 8 inches.
Okay, potatoes,
Here, let me give you a bowl to put it in. And then you can measure the rest of it so we're accurate. There's 1 cup. Looks like you're going to be close there with 2 cups.
Here, just
Let me hold it up and you can scrape it in. Good guess, Roz.
Yeah,
That looks like 2 cups.
2 cups.
So that's 2 cups of the combo of eggs and fried potatoes. We'll just remember that when we're looking up. Okay?
Okay.
So now we want to look up the amount of fat grams in each of these. So we'll take our fat counter, or you can use your phone if you're using your phone to look up the foods. And I'm going to go under T for tortillas. If you're using the fat counter, I find tortillas on page 63. There's a choice for corn, plain fried, flour, plain, not fried, 8 inches. And 1 tortilla has 3 grams of fat for an 8-inch tortilla. So 3 grams we're going to write in here for the fat grams. We're going to ignore the calories. Well, maybe since we're looking it up, let's look it up. So 8-inch tortilla has 137 calories. For the fried potatoes, let's see, we knew that from earlier. So each half cup had 14 grams of fat. And so we want the 2 cups of fried potatoes. So that's 28 plus 28. Yes. So we have 56 fat grams in the amount of fried potatoes that are in the burrito. And then for eggs, we're going to look up scrambled. Do you think they're scrambled, Roz?
Yes.
Okay.
Scrambled.
And you thought the potatoes were fried?
Yes, it's fried.
Okay. So for scrambled eggs, it says no fat added. 2 medium is 10 grams of fat. So we're estimating that there was 1 scrambled egg in there. So we'll write down 5 grams of fat or cut it in half. So 1 egg, this was the actual amount. And then for the sausage, we'll look up sausage, which I find on page 54 and 55 in the fat counter. And there is, like the sausage links, there's chorizo in here, there's different sausage like bratwurst and things. And then it says, pork patty, 1 small, 1 ounce is 8 grams of fat. So I know that in a 1/4 cup, which is what this is, a 1/4 cup of the sausage, there's 3 ounces. And so since the pork sausage, this has 1 ounce, has 8 grams of fat, I have to triple that. And so for the sausage, I get 24 grams of fat. Now I forgot when I was on the pages to do our calories, so let's go back and do it. For calories here, 1 ounce of a pork sausage patty has 100 calories. So since I have 3 ounces in a 1/4 cup, I have to triple that and I get 300 for my calories there. Let's go back to calories in fried potatoes because we never have looked at that yet. So in fried potatoes, we have 285 calories for a half a cup. And so we're going to have to do a little math here. 285 times 4, 32, 1,140 calories in those fried potatoes in our breakfast burrito. And then our egg, a scrambled egg. 2 medium eggs have 10 grams of fat that are when they're scrambled and 150 calories. So since we're only having one, it's 75 calories. So now we have to do our totals to see how many total fat grams and calories are in this burrito. So help me with the math. It looks like there's 8 fat grams there. If I add these up, 10 plus 8 more is 18. 8 carry the 1. So we have 88 grams of fat in our breakfast burrito. And then we'll do the calories. So 2, carry the 1, 14, 15, carry the 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there's 1,652 calories in that one breakfast burrito. Wow.
Wow, Carol, that's a lot of fat, gram, and calories.
So write down this amount in the back of your fat counter if you have it, or somewhere in your diary. And then you'll know that when you buy or eat a breakfast burrito from the side of the road, if it's sausage, it has 88 grams of fat in it and 1,652 calories. And then you don't have to take it apart each time. In the future, you'll just know to record those numbers.
That is a lot of fat and calorie in a breakfast burrito. Our participant Betty's starting weight in Native Lifestyle Balance was 200 pounds. So Betty's fat gram goal is 42 grams per day. Betty is over her daily fat gram total when she eats one sausage burrito.
She eats 88 grams of fat in just that one burrito compared to her goal of 42 grams of fat. Last week we talked about the fact that 70% of the fat we eat is hidden in foods. Bacon is an example of hidden fat because it's marbled fat. When we make fry bread, the dough for bread soaks up the larder shortening when being fried, and the larder shortening becomes a hidden fat. By using the same dough to make a tortilla instead of fry bread, we eat less fat. The tortilla has only 1 gram of fat compared to the 8 grams of fat in this size of fry bread.
The amount of fat in a food is not always obvious. Being able to identify the type of food that are high in fat by keeping track in your food diary. Learning the number of fat grams in the food we eat keep us on track to eat less fat and fewer calories.
Now that you are learning to recognize the high-fat foods you eat, how can we use this information to actually eat less fat and fewer calories? Today we are picking on fried potatoes. Betty noticed that last week that 5 out of 7 days at breakfast she ate fried potatoes. She usually makes fried potatoes for her family for breakfast because she likes to fill them up before school. Fried potatoes are low cost, and she cooks breakfast for her parents who live next door, and they love her crispy fried potatoes. These reasons for eating fried potatoes are an example of how much goes into forming an eating habit and why it is so hard to break a habit. So now Betty knows that there are 28 grams of fat in 1 cup of fried potatoes. It will be a challenge to meet her fat gram goal with that 28 grams of fat. What might she do to eat less fat from fried potatoes? Like Mia and Roz, Betty was surprised by the amount of fat in fried potatoes. So instead of eating 1 cup of fried potatoes, on the day she eats fried potatoes, she is going to limit her portion to 1/2 cup. This way to eat less fat is called eating a smaller portion of the high-fat food.
Betty decided she could eat blue mush some days for breakfast instead of the fried potatoes. This way to eat less fat is called eating a lower fat food instead of a high fat food.
And finally, Betty decides she is only going to buy a breakfast burrito on the way to work every other week instead of every week. In this way, she will be eating the high-fat food less often. So Betty has taught us the 3 ways to eat less fat from fried potatoes. We can apply the 3 ways to any high-fat or high-calorie food we eat. On page 6, this demonstrates why learning the 3 ways to eat less fat and thus fewer calories make a difference to our weight loss. So number 1, eat foods high in fat or calories less often. The example is to eat French fries only once a week instead of every day. Here's our French fries. That would mean about 132 fewer grams of fat per week. That is 1.5 sticks of butter less that we would eat each week, just by making that one change. Number 2, eat smaller amounts of high-fat foods. Cutting back even a little on the amount you eat can make a big difference. The example here is at the salad bar, use a regular spoon to ladle salad dressing onto your salad. Most of those ladles at salad bars hold about 4 tablespoons, but most spoons hold 1 tablespoon or less. So you'll eat only 1/4 of the fat. You'll eat 24 fewer grams of fat by using the spoon instead of the ladle. The 3rd way to eat less fat, eat a lower fat and lower calorie food instead. The example on page 6 is to drink low-fat milk instead of whole milk. Since a lot of Native people are lactose intolerant, that is, they can't drink milk, I'm going to give one more example. Instead of a piece of apple pie for dessert, I will eat an apple. This saves 30 fat grams and 500 calories. If you look at page 7 and 8, there are some menu makeovers. What do you see in this first column that says, instead of this food, that you eat regularly? Could you learn to choose the food in the column that says, choose this food instead? Remember, taking small steps to healthier eating gains us big rewards.
Some things to remember. Take a notice of the warning on page 7. Many food that company label as low fat are high in calories because to make the food low fat, company replaces the fat with sugar. So try not to spend your food dollars on low fat, high calorie food. There are no forbidden food. And there are no good or bad food. You can eat any food in a small amount and still reach your fat gram goal. Managing your fat gram is a lot like managing your money. That is, if you have a budget. In this case, a budget of fat gram, and you don't spend more than your budget allowed. And just as you keep a running total in your money budget of how much money you can spend, so too you keep a running total of how many fat grams you can still eat. Knowing how many fat grams you already ate helps you plan for a later meal. So if you know you are going to a family gathering where you will eat high number of fat grams, you can budget for those fat grams by banking them. That is, you make a point of eating fewer fat grams at one meal to offset the splurge of fat grams expected in a future meal. You can use the worksheet on page 9 to make over your own meal by actually using the food that you have written down in your food diary.
Now that we've heard about the 3 ways to eat less fat and calories, let's look at the activities to do next week on page 10 of session 3. This is page 10 of session 3. Let's make a plan to eat less fat and calories right now using the chart on your To Do Next Week handout. Take a minute to look back at your food diary, and on the table on page 10, write down 5 foods you have eaten regularly in the last few weeks that are high in fat. They should be foods you eat often. Betty notices she regularly eats cheeseburgers, pizza, fry bread, ranch dressing, and pork sausage. Write your 5 foods down on your chart. Now look at the columns that list the 3 ways to eat less fat. I will eat it less often. I will eat a smaller amount. I will eat a lower fat food instead. Now Betty thinks about how she could realistically use the 3 ways to eat less fat over the next week, and then checks the box that indicates her eating plan. For cheeseburgers, she is going to eat hamburgers instead. The hamburger will be lower fat, so she puts an X in the 3rd box. Eat a lower fat food instead. For cheeseburger. For pizza, she decides she's only going to eat pizza once a week instead of twice a week. So this is eating the high-fat food less often. This column right here, and we'll put an X next to pizza. Betty's family loves how she makes fry bread and would miss the bread if she didn't make it. So Betty's going to make her fry bread smaller, so she will be eating a smaller serving of fry bread. So eat a smaller amount. Since starting Native Lifestyle Balance, Betty is making a real effort to eat more salad, but was surprised to learn how much fat is in the ranch dressing she puts on the salad. So Betty is going to buy fat-free ranch dressing and try to use a smaller amount on each salad. So that's 2 ways she will eat less fat with 1 food choice. She's going to buy fat-free dressing, so eat a lower fat food instead, and she's going to eat a smaller amount of the dressing. Finally, Betty decides to stop eating sausage for breakfast. Instead, she will try to eat some fruit with each breakfast. So this is eating a lower fat food instead.
Since you set these goals for yourself today, page 11 gives you a place to evaluate how you did reaching your goals. Before you review session 4, ask yourself, did I follow my plan? What did I do well? What problem did I face with my plan? What could I do differently to achieve my plan? Have fun measuring your food and discover new ways to eat less fat this week. We will see you in 1 week for session 4, healthy eating. Gå ned.
Gå ned.